I was the last leader of Hyrule. The Great Calamity was merciless. It devastated everything in its path. But there was also a prophecy.
Well, an interesting thought came up. Something that might make Breath of the Wild story a bit more complex. When I uploaded the Yiga Clan's hidden story video, I received a thought-provoking comment from TGL Madura, in which he states, "I believe that not only were the Yiga involved in Ganon's return, that the fortune teller was also a Yiga member, posing to set up the Hylians and champions for failure." At first, I thought the idea was interesting, but is there any evidence to back it up? Well, for the sake of curiosity, I did some digging, and wow, into the rabbit hole we go. When Link wakes up in Breath of the Wild, he is greeted with a lot of questions. What happened in Hyrule and how did he die? Meeting him to this end is the King of Hyrule, who explained the entire situation. That a prophecy came to him that Calamity Ganon would indeed return. To make preparations, he enlisted the aid of the Sheikah tribe to unearth ancient technology. This would be the Guardians, along with the Divine Beasts. However, when the Calamity came, the whole plan backfired. When Ganon managed to infect the Guardians to burn down the entire kingdom, this led up to the corruption of the Divine Beasts, leading up to the deaths of the 4 champions, and of course the death of Link by the hands of Guardians. In other words, the plan put forth by King Rome ironically paved the way to the destruction of his own kingdom. So that brings into question, what started this whole plan in the first place? Well, according to both the King's Journal and Zelda's Diary, a mysterious fortune teller first told them all the information leading up to the actual plan. Now, who is this fortune teller? Well, let's break that down. Obviously, this fortune teller would have to be rather close to the royal family for them to take it seriously. So, what kind of a social circle should we be looking for? Well, the Sheikah as a choice makes a compelling case. Think about it. In many instances where we see fortune tellers in other Zelda games, they are Sheikah affiliated. For example, Fanati in Twilight Princess. But what else can support this notion that the fortune teller is indeed Sheikah? Well, let's take a look at the character Kass. When he discusses his last song, he also talks about his teacher. Turns out, he is not only a Sheikah, but is a court poet for the royal family. Additionally, within the Akala region, there is a Sheikah researcher by the name of Dr. Robbie. In his memoirs, he states that top Sheikah were rather close to the royal family. Adding on to this notion, we go to Zelda's journal, who states that Impa introduced her to high-ranking members of the Sheikah, such as Purah and Robbie. So, from the evidence gathered from the court poet that is Kass's teacher, Dr. Robbie's statements within his memoirs, and Zelda's own words within her journal, we can make an educated assertion that high-ranking members of the Sheikah tribe held influence in the royal family, a magnitude of which that we can theorize that a certain fortune teller can come into the fray. And wrapping up all this, we go to the King's Journal, who referenced the fortune teller's prophecy in relation to unearthing Sheikah technology, making a connection between the two. So now that we have some idea of who this fortune teller is, let's dig a bit deeper. Let's discuss the history of the Sheikah tribe in relation to these events. According to in-game lore, 10,000 years before the game takes place, the Sheikah tribe was at their peak of technological development. It was around this time that Calamity Ganon came into the picture. However, it was thanks to Sheikah advancements along with the hero at the time that Ganon was defeated. However, the sudden display of military prowess bothered the Kingdom of Hyrule. Wary that Sheikah influence might eclipse Hylians, the kingdom exiled the Sheikah, and as a result, the Sheikah let go of a lot of their technological developments. Not surprisingly, a faction of Sheikah did not like how they were treated, especially how they practically saved the kingdom. so they decided to fight against the Hylians. This particular sect of Sheikah would be known as the Yiga Clan, pledging an alliance with Ganon to eventually take down the Kingdom of Hyrule. So here we have a motive for such an attack to take place by the Yiga Clan. Now let's fast forward in history to when the Kingdom of Hyrule was attacked by Ganon the second time. Notice that Calamity Ganon here has a new ability, which is his infection of Sheikah technology, thus turning these robots against Hyrule. But here is the strange thing. This ability appears to be a new one. Back when Ganon attacked Hyrule the first time, he presumably did not infect Sheikah tech. Additionally, King Rome himself states that Ganon came up with a plan beyond imagination, meaning he had no idea that Ganon could infect Sheikah tech. But notice when Ganon came back the second time, he immediately went ahead to infect Sheikah tech, almost as if he wanted to capitalize on his newfound ability. And come to think of it, this whole chain of events seems to be too coincidental. That a fortune teller told King Rome to unearth Sheikah technology, only for the same tech to destroy the entire kingdom. And considering the likelihood that this fortune teller is Sheikah, and considering the past history between the Sheikah and the Hylians, where the Sheikah were exiled, is there an ulterior motive here that this person, whoever it is, instigated a plan to take down the entire kingdom by tricking the king to unearth Sheikah tech, only for the same technology to be infected by Ganon, thus burning down the entire kingdom? And again, considering the past history of the Sheikah within Breath of the Wild, the motive is there. The only thing missing is who the fortune teller is exactly, which strangely is nowhere within Breath of the Wild. Well, at least as far as I have looked. I went through Zelda's journal, the King's journal, Purah's notes, Robbie's memoirs, even freaking obscure journal entries about making food. I think I've looked through most places. The closest I came across to figuring this out is in Robbie's memoirs. I figured if this fortune teller is indeed a Sheikah, then she should be within the proximate social circle of Impa, Purah, and Robbie. And the only person that is talked about in name and in relation to these three individuals, and accounting for the time period, is this person known as Cherry. The only thing we know about Cherry, however, is that she is Robbie's first crush. So yeah, not too much to work with here. Maybe the DLC coming this winter, which will deal with a brand new story. Maybe we'll talk about the situation. That the DLC will discuss events leading up to the calamity, and maybe shed some light on who exactly this fortune teller is. And considering how Breath of the Wild as a game has such an emphasis on the Sheikah tribe, it would make sense that the DLC would somehow follow suit. That perhaps that the new story within it will reveal hidden details about the rest of the calamity. So what do you guys think? Did the fortune teller concoct this plan to completely destroy Hyrule? Or maybe, just maybe, that maybe I'm putting way too much time into this, and Nintendo didn't even think about the relevance about the fortune teller and just placed the character in just because. I don't know. So that's that. So what's next? Well, since E3 is right around the corner, I do plan to make some more content leading up to the big event. So what will we see? A new Metroid, F-Zero, Mother 3, or maybe none of these, and in its place comes Wii Sports U Remastered? Who knows? But in all seriousness, I'm really looking forward to the event. So in other words, expect an E3 2017 video dropping this Thursday. Special thanks goes to our Patreon producers for helping out putting this video together. Well guys, I had to be heading out now. Have a great and relaxing rest of the day, and take care.
아크다 구랑 아시코